Welcome to AZ TechCast, sponsored by the Arizona Technology Council, with your hosts, Steve Szylstra and Karen Nowicki. AZ TechCast is dedicated to covering innovation and technology in Arizona and beyond. Broadcasted monthly, AZ TechCast invites leading experts to have real conversations about what is happening in the tech sector across the state of Arizona. From regional news to innovative startups, companies, and emerging technologies, AZ TechCast covers the critical issues and economic trends propelling the state's growing tech ecosystem.
Hello and welcome to the 50th episode of AZ TechCast, woohoo! Where we dive deep into the world of government contracting and government programs. This episode aims to educate Arizona business owners on the differences between state and local government contracts and government programs, specifically SBIR and STTR, which I'm sure we're going to find out more about. The episode also is aimed at helping Arizona business owners understand how government contracts and programs can directly benefit your companies. Joined today with Paisley and myself is our esteemed guests, Lisa Rahuric, Jenny Servo, and Sonia Votnot. Yay! I hope I did that right. Jenny, please tell me I said your last name correctly.
You did.
Yay! Very good. Well, we are going to uncover these contracts and programs, finding out what they mean, what options are best for different businesses and the different types of businesses, verticals, industries, and how you can put together as a business a great proposal and what that means once you receive one of these contracts or programs. Guests this week are the presidents and CEOs of the RFP Success Company, Don Breaker and UpSpot LLC. Welcome to 50th episode, the 50th episode. Yay. All right, let's dive in. Let me introduce myself. I'm Karen Nowicki, president and owner of Phoenix Business Radio X. And with me riding tandem is Paisley Coxey.
Yes.
And she is the marketing and communications director for the Arizona Technology Council and our first time co-host since Steve Szylstra was not able to be here today.
Very excited to be here and excited to learn.
What I love so much about having someone like yourself join us when either Steve or I can't be here is that in your role, you put these podcasts together for us.
Yes.
And so ahead of time, you know the magic that's about to ensue.
Yes.
Or the chaos, whichever. Or the
whichever
chaos.
way it goes.
I love it. So on behalf of the council, would you, if you're comfortable, would you be willing to share a little bit about, for our listeners and viewers, what is Arizona Technology Council? And then we'll have our guests introduce themselves as well.
Sure. So I'm fresh new to all of this. I'm very excited to be here. Arizona Tech Council is out there making sure that there is technology advances and, growth in Arizona for those businesses and things like that. So really great organization, just trying to help companies like maybe even yourself attending here, grow and get out there in front of people. So it's been a lot to learn and I've enjoyed it so far. So
we love having you on board. And as we walk through the co-work space, I said to Paisley, are you familiar with the SciTech Institute, which is the nonprofit side, the foundation that serves K-12 education for STEM readiness and career workforce? And she said, I'm not too familiar yet. And I said, well, they all live right here and the whole team is here. There's about 8 to 10 teammates and a couple of offices. We get to walk past your team, the extension of your team on our way to the studio. So thank you for the great introduction. And now I'd love to turn it over to our panelists and have each of you take a few moments to introduce yourself, the role in which you play, and the company that you represent, a little bit about all of that. And in addition, tie it up with a bow for us. How do you serve the tech ecosystem here in Arizona and beyond? So we'll just leave it up to whoever would like to pop in first, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll jump in.
Thanks,
Hi,
Lisa.
everybody. I'm Lisa Rahuric, founder and CEO of the RFP Success Company. And we really are an education and support services company that helps companies that are bidding on state and local, we call it the SLED arena, state local education, looking to do business with state local education government agencies. I personally have over 30 years of experience in the RFP space on all sides of the aisle. I was a RFP developer, an RFP evaluator, and an RFP responder. So a unique vantage point. One of our key industries is the service-based tech industry. So we serve Arizona and the entire nation. it's probably our primary client base for sure.
And this is not Lisa's first rodeo here at Phoenix Business Radio X. A little
Right.
fun fact that I don't think I shared with our team here in our pre-call. Lisa was one of my first clients. We've been dear friends for
Yes.
years. And when I started Business Radio X almost 7 years ago, I said, Lisa, I'm doing this thing. Actually, you were the catalyst to say, go for it.
Yes.
Even before I made the decision to open the business. And then we created her podcast, which she
Yep.
did with us for, I think, about a year.
Yes.
And you've continued to do a version of that on your own with your own team.
Yes, it's on hiatus right now, but we've been running for quite a few years, 4 or 5
A
years.
long time
Yeah.
and very successfully.
Yes.
And I was opening the door to give us some little bit more air since we have a crowded house today. Did you also mention your role on the Tech Council?
Oh, I am a board member on the Tech Council. Thank you for that reminder.
Brand new board
Yes,
member.
brand new board member. So
Awesome.
yes.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Great introduction.
Thanks.
So Jenny and Sonia, who would like to go next?
Okay, I'll go first or next. So I'm Sonia Vohnot. I'm President and CEO of HubSpot, and I help the small businesses and the startups go after non-dilutive funding. So we help them from having an idea, finding an opportunity, or helping them create it, guide them through the proposal process, help them with submissions, and then once they win, help them with the commercialization strategies. So that's kind of in a nutshell where our company is doing. In terms of the entrepreneurship ecosystem, I'm involved in various aspects. I'm a member of the Tech Council. I'm not a board member, but I'm a
Not
member.
yet.
And then I'm also a member of several of the state organizations, the Arizona Commerce Authority. I'm also supporting the entrepreneurs through the Tech Transfer, Tech Launch Arizona, and I'm also a mentor and coach over at the incubator at the University of Arizona Center for Innovation. So I take quite a bit of pride supporting the entrepreneurs locally, but I'm also helping at the state level. I occasionally work with SBA, supporting a lot of their efforts and being a reviewer, also with NASA and other organizations, and recently also helping the Montana State University entrepreneurs. So that's how I stay engaged.
Do you ladies sleep? Do you ever rest? Right? Thank you for the introduction. Jenny?
Hi, so my name's Jenny Servo, and I'm actually based in Rochester, New York. That's why I'm not in the studio today. But recently I was visiting Arizona. I've been to Arizona many times, but what drew me there this time was the Center of Excellence, the DHS Center of Excellence at Arizona State University. And so let me tell you a little bit about Dawnbreaker, and then I'll go back to my visit to Arizona. So Dawnbreaker has been in existence for 32 years. My two sons call it my third child because the affinity one has for their business is very much like that. We have 33 employees. Some of them are business strategists, others are market researchers, and then I have a marketing communication department. And our specialty has been in the SBIR, STTR arena for many years, and we position ourselves as the commercialization company. Commercialization means bringing the technology to market. So it starts at the beginning with proposals and writing proposals, but then once they win an award, they need to figure out the strategy to bring that technology to market, because it takes a lot to do that. So that's our sweet spot is that. And right now we work with the Department of Homeland Security with Phase 2 awardees. We work with NSF with Phase 1 awardees. We work with DOE with Phase 0. And we also do work for the Navy. So why was I in Arizona? I wanted to increase the diversity of applicants that apply to the SBIR and the STTR program, because we're just not reaching the population. And so Arizona, largest university in the country, ASU, so many engineers, such diversity in the student body. So I thought, okay, this is where I need to go now. Okay, and so I will be doing more in Arizona because of the diversity and the incredible stuff that's happening in the state. So it's my pleasure to be here today.
And you said in our pre-call that you've known Steve Szylstra for quite some time.
I have. I've known Steve for probably about 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you again for spending a little bit of your afternoon with us, all of you. So Paisley, we're going to have you ask our first question, and then she and I are going to kind of tag team. And then midway, we'll take a little break.
Can I bug you a second here before you start? I want to add something. I met Jenny like probably close to 20 years ago when I used to work with one of the startup companies, and I took her program probably about 7 times, and it's probably one of the best programs out there. I have to credit her for a lot of what I know. I really, really appreciate it. So for me, it's such an honor to be here chatting and helping others listen to what we know, but a lot of what I know, I have learned from Jenny and her organization. So I just wanted to mention that.
I'm
So
so glad you took it.
Thank you.
I really would have been sad had that been in the after show glow and not on air. Thank you for taking a moment to do that.
I was in a hurry coming here, but I forgot to bring a book that they wrote that it is a business plan, and it goes hand in hand with a lot of what they do. And a lot of it is just so good back then and still today.
So nice. That's amazing.
So good.
Love it.
Okay. Well, excited to learn more.
All right.
Okay, let's get started. So Lisa, since you're the expert on state and local government contracts, let's start by having you break down government contracts and why businesses would look into contracting.
Absolutely. So, the government is actually the number one purchaser of goods and services. So when the government contracts with vendors to provide products and services, that's what I do. That's the contracting leg versus funding or some of what Jenny and Sonia are going to talk about. So when the states need to buy a service or a product, they contract with vendors, and they usually do that via an RFP process. So I love this business so much, particularly for small and mid-sized businesses, because once you get a contract, you'll get at minimum 1 year, sometimes up to 5 years, generally about a 3-year contract. And for a business owner to have that kind of a contract, to be able to better manage their business and be able to, understand where their staffing levels need to be and all of that. And frankly, then it's also yours to lose. Unless you screw it up, you can keep that for a really long time. And it's a great way to get some consistency in your business.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of business owners don't even know that it's out there. So I'm glad we're on here educating today, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And then let's turn it over to Sonia and Jenny, just kind of breaking down the SBIR and STTR programs and explain why business owners would look into those.
And give us something longer than the acronym for those of us that don't have a clue.
Why don't you go first, Jenny? I'll go after.
Okay, so the Small Business Innovation Research Program, or SBIR, and the Small Business Tech Transfer Program, or STTR, are intended for small businesses that do R&D, so research and development. And they're, every year, the federal government gives out about $4 billion in awards, grants, and contracts to small businesses. There are 11 participating agencies. The largest is the Department of Defense, NASA, NSF, DOE, NIH, USDA. So there's so many different agencies that have this program. And it is ideal for companies that can solve a government problem and do R&D in particular. So that would be just a brief introduction, and I'll turn it over to Sonia and we'll continue talking.
Okay, so thank you for then spelling out the acronyms, and so I don't have to do that. But one of the beauties of these programs, too, for the small businesses to look at is that it is non-dilutive funding, right? So technically, it's kind of like free money if you can win it, which is a very highly competitive program. But they don't take, the government's not going to take equity from you. They might request to have access to the technology, but there's ways to work around so that you could still make money selling to the largest organization in the world, right? But so it's non-diluted. It's targeted for the small businesses, so you're not competing against the big prime contractors like Raytheons or Boeings of the world. So at least it's earmarked for the small business. But also you'll have some protection to your data after you're done that. And then after, if you prove your concept, it's a phase program, which we could talk a little bit more later. But once you have proven that the technology, as Jenny mentioned, it's about doing research, proving that your technology works, that you have something that's good for the government, in the case of DoD, being our war fighters, for instance. But then you become sole source, right? Which means they will have to approach you first before buying the product. So if you prove that your stuff works and you have a good product, most likely the government's going to come to you first. So it's a good deal, but it's competitive, right? We can talk a little bit more about that later.
Awesome. Okay. That was a lot of information. I loved it. So I'm like absorbing it all. I love it. Okay. So then I know you guys are talking about a little bit different things here, but just in general, when businesses are looking to take advantage of these programs and these contracts, where do they start? You know, that's always the question. So I'm sure you could talk about that for hours, but let's start with you, Lisa.
Yeah. And you know, what's interesting too, is we had a conversation before this a couple of days ago for all of us to introduce each other. And, you know, they're doing things that I know nothing about. And in the world of government contracting and government funding, there is so much to know. So the first thing I would say is really figure out who you want to be serving. Is it the federal government? Is it, and what are you offer? Like, what is your solution and who is going to value that solution? And from there, then you can look at, you know, federal funding, federal programs, state government contracting. What is all of that? There's a lot to move through. And if you don't know who your target is, then you're going to get mixed up. We see so many people, for example, in the federal contracting space, there's certifications around 8A and GSA and all of that. And we have people that pour their heart and soul and time into this type of a program, and they don't know anything about it. And the 8A in particular, there's like a runway, and when you're done, there, you can't reapply or anything. So you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste your resources. If it's state government contracting, what I would say is start with your home state and learn about them. Dig into the website, look at the procurement rules and regulations, pick up the phone and call the procurement and say, hey, this is a service or whatever that I offer. You know, who's buying it in your state? And you got to start with the research. It's not sexy. It's not always fun. It's the piece that people don't want to do. They're like, I'm just going to respond to this RFP and I'm going to get a 7-figure contract. It doesn't work that way. So dig in, pick one state. Don't say you're going to do them all, and go to work gathering market intelligence.
Awesome.
Lisa, does the RFP Success Company help people navigate that very beginning starting point, or do you really expect them to come in kind of having that down already?
Great question. Yeah, we do have a consulting, it's called our Play to Win Consult, and they come in if they're looking to break into state government or if they're already doing it, and we work with them to develop their game plan for that.
Excellent.
Yes.
And then the second piece of that question is, how often does a company come in and they think they're starting here because they've already done that, and your team of experts says, okay, hang on, I think we need to back up a little bit and do some redirecting?
Often, because we'll get clients that come to us with an RFP and they'll say, we can do all of this, and about a week and a half in, they're like, oh, wait, we didn't really read the RFP and we can't do everything. And so then we have to back up and say, all right, well, let's figure out this piece for you before we jump in to the next RFP.
Which is why it's so important to have a company like yours side saddle
Yes.
and run in tandem with a company that really wants to win these bids.
Yep. 100%. If they don't have a professional proposal team that knows what they're doing, we basically become your outsourced team to help with all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I have a quick question too.
Yes.
With all of this, is it have to be startup companies? Can it be companies
No.
that have been around for years? So
We generally are looking for companies that are already established.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And is that kind of the most common that would apply for those, or is it across the board?
I think more of the startups are going to be in
Okay.
Jenny and Sonia's court, where they're looking for funds to figure out, you know, what they can bring to the government.
Okay.
Most state government RFPs are going to look for experience in government. So they've got to have something somewhere.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, and then how about with you guys? Where do people start? They got to get going and.
Well, that's a good question. When I had, and it varies, depends on what kind of company you have. So for a service company, the first time I went to was the local SBDC or SBA office, and they'd help me, with a lot of how to learn how to ask for money with the banks, how to write a business plan, how to get that money. But when I started in the startup world, that was a different beast. And so it's how to write a technical proposal, how to use the scientific method to do it. And so I worked with a lot of the experts with the SBDC, but I also work with experts at the universities. And then, once we won, was having access through the government programs to back then companies like Dawnbreaker and other consultants. But basically we've all heard the saying, it takes a village, and it really does. And you have to be able to navigate and find out who's who does what services are available for free, what services you might have to pay for, like for consultants. But yeah, that's kind of what I would recommend is go local, go to the universities, and find out how they can help you.
Awesome. And Jenny, anything to add on your end?
Yes. So one of the things that's confusing to people is that the SBIR and the STTR program all use RFPs. Okay. So they all have requests for proposals. They all come out at different times. Sometimes some agencies have them multiple times during a year, some just once. And so trying to figure out what do these different agencies do and when can I bid? Okay, because they don't accept unsolicited proposals. It has to be in response to a solicitation. So I think the best place to start is sbir.gov, which is an SBA website. And on there, it has tutorials, and it has tutorials on everything. Okay, what is the SBIR STTR program? If I wanted to know about DoD, like Navy in particular, can I find a little tutorial on that? You can. And then if I want to protect my SBIR data rights, how do I do that? So sbir.gov is a good place to find a lot of information all at one time. But trying to figure out when you can engage is a challenge.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Then you have to go to the individual agencies or to other experts to find out, because and right now it's just like in a state of flux. Everything is changing. And so what you thought was, that you knew it, you have to read the RFP, the solicitation, because you thought you knew it, and then they change it. It says 20 pages, now it's 15, then it's maybe 5 plus a PowerPoint presentation. It's this amount of money versus that amount of money, and the date that it's due, the time that it's due, can vary by your location or by Eastern, so it's very overwhelming.
It is. And even just overwhelming, even as we're talking, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this whole ecosystem is so overwhelming, because back to what I was saying before, you guys are dealing with something completely different than what I deal with. It's still RFPs that they write or that they have to respond to win this money. But I don't even know very much about what Jenny and Sonia know about. So we know it's confusing. There's a lot out there. And that's why I say, figure out where to start small. I would love it if my RFP responses were 5 or 10 or 15 pages. We're like 50 to 100 to 200 pages of the response. So they can be rather big and arduous.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Awesome. And then Sonia, do you want to share just kind of how your business can help other people navigate that whole process of getting started with finding these STTR?
SBIR.
LMNOP,
Well, yeah. So Jenny mentioned the SBIR.gov. So that's one place. Sometimes it's a little bit behind. Depends on what solicitations or who's winning, and the agencies will give the information later. So it's a little bit more difficult to navigate, or it would not be complete if I would just say go there looking for opportunities. So I would teach them to, depends on what technology they have, if they're got something medical, maybe to do the National Science Foundation or NSF and NIH and possibly maybe through the DoD, because they have medical research labs too. And so depends on the customer and their startup innovation, what it is that they're doing. Then we would look at what agency might be a better fit, and make sure that do they understand what it means to do research? Do they have a real innovation, right? Because a lot of times what they have doesn't require to be proven, right? And there's no research approach to their idea. And so we go through that process. I have consultants in many areas, many fields, many of them with PhDs. And so depends on the area they're working with, I'll form a team and we work together, identifying the best fit and helping them also verify if there's a market need. Right?
Oh, what a novel idea. You mean we'd have to know that there's a need for it in the market before we launched? I'm say that obviously tongue in cheek.
Yeah. But believe it or not, especially when you're dealing with startups that come out from a university environment, a lot of the times they have a brilliant idea, but there's not a customer need or a market need. And so it's but right now is when they need the money, right? And so it's just like getting them ready. And we do a little bit of an assessment. Do they have a good idea? Is there a market fit? What about their team, right? Because a lot of times they don't have a complete team. It's a company of one. Right. And so having also been a reviewer for many of these agencies, we have to make the government think as if they were investors. Right. And so if I were to give money to this company, are they going to be able to deliver? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I work with them to prepare them to have a better chance to win.
I've known Lisa for years, which is fun and we met through business. And that last little piece that you've just shared really is something that I hear Lisa say quite a bit. When you're helping people go through and prepare for their to respond to a proposal. Yep. It really is about the storytelling, isn't it? And being able to, much like Sonia has just described, paint that picture for them so they can see you as the vendor and or the person that's going to do the job for them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in our, again, we're helping companies bid on something that the government says they need now, right? We've got cloud or ERP services. We need a company that can come in and do that for us. And if you go in and you just meet the qualifications and respond to the requirements, great, you're going to get those meets expectations on that evaluation criteria. If you don't do anything to distinguish yourself, to stand out, to show your authority, to give some evidence, you're just going to blend in with everybody else. And we really want you to stand out. So that's a huge piece of it, is that storytelling and talking about how your solution is going to fit their need, not the need of the last state that you bid on or the need of the state before. You can't just copy or cut and paste and think it's going to win. So yeah. A lot of synergies for sure.
Yeah, so in our work with new applicants, we do the DOE Phase 0 program. And what that is, it's for companies who have never submitted an application to DOE. And so they're vetted at the beginning to basically make sure that they have a technical background, because these are R&D programs. And then we ask them what topic they're looking to respond to make sure that they've looked at the solicitation, because a lot of times they haven't. And then we make a recommendation to DOE as to which company seems like it would be good to include in the Phase 0 program. We then assign a business strategist who interacts with them weekly on developing different parts of the application package. There's a market researcher that comes in at some point to help with their commercialization plan. The government wants financials in a specific format, a format that people are not accustomed to. So we have an accounting firm that also can step in to help. So that's what we do with DOE Phase 0. Now with DHS, which is a new program, they're looking to leverage state services, which is why I came to Arizona. Okay, they're looking to leverage the SBDCs, leverage the Apex accelerators. And so we're going to be doing some train the trainer for SBDCs and Apex accelerators around the country to increase the likelihood that they can help with DHS proposals. Because DHS is a small program. People know about DOD, they know about NIH, they're the big guys, but they don't know about DHS. And it's a wonderful program. And again, having the Center of Excellence at ASU makes it a prime place to develop relationships.
So can I ask a question, Jenny? When you say small, DHS being small, like what does define small?
Okay, well, DOD is like over 1.5 billion that they give out a year. Okay, DHS is probably about 17 million.
Okay, thank you
Big
for that.
difference. Okay, big difference.
How about one more question? Then we're going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors.
Perfect. In general, what are just some of the most common misconceptions people have about these contracts and programs? Because, I mean, you guys are dealing with these people day in and day out, and I'm sure you get so many people misunderstanding what the process even is. So just in general, anything you can help educate so clear up some misconceptions.
Well, I'll jump in with one.
Yes.
It's important to understand what the government wants. Okay. A lot of times companies go in saying, I'm looking to do research on X, and they're trying to force fit into something. They really do need to look at the solicitation and say, what are they asking for? And here I've got all these capabilities. How can I apply my capabilities to solve that problem? That's the better way to do it, looking at yourself and your capabilities and then applying it to the problem as specified by the agency.
Yeah, and to add that to that is know your customer. Talk to them, if possible, visit them, call them. A lot of times it's like they think, oh, I have a solution. But, if you speak to the authors of these topics or solicitations, it's like you get to know them and know what is the real motivation behind why they need something. And then you can write the story.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And thread it along the proposal, right? So that each section ties into the next, understands that why. Yeah. The why they need something, and to tell your story and to write it with that theme in mind. It's just so important. But there's two kind of misconceptions, but they kind of are contradictory to each other, right? It's like it's hard to work with the government, but yes, it is hard to get in. But once you get in and you have the right help and assistance and you start doing it, it is an excellent customer. So there's, so I think, if you could break through and get, learn how to do it and start winning these things, you're going to have a really good customer. But breaking through that first initial couple times, maybe. So it is hard, but at the same time, it's really good.
Yes. I mirror all of what both of them said, and I agree it's hard. I always say that it's hardest, the bigger the entity, the harder it is, right? So sometimes if somebody's new, we say start with like a school district or a county or a city, and then work your way up to the federal government, because you'll be a little bit more well-versed in contracting. And I'm again talking more about the government as a purchaser versus funding. And the other thing that I want to say, kind of on the heels of what Sonia said, is these evaluators are not just looking at your proposal. They are looking at multiple. We just had one the other day. There was 35 bidders. So this poor evaluator A, in fact, in one of my books, I had a character who was an evaluator, and I told stories about him throughout the book. They're sitting there and they're reading. Think about reading 10 leadership books at one time. And are you going to catch great things out of each one? There's going to be one maybe in that bunch that makes you lean in and perk up and go, oh my gosh, I feel like they're talking to me. And to Sonia's point, you've got to you've got to build those relationships and have conversations, because they're not going to write out in that RFP, we're tired of vendors being late. They might say that one of their requirements is on-time delivery, but if you have a conversation, they might say, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of these vendors being late, just in passing. And then you just pick up on that little stuff. One other misconception that I want to toss in is that, and again, talking about contracting with the government as a purchaser, is that small businesses can't compete with the big guys. And that is not true. We've seen so many examples. As long as you've got your ducks in a row, you've got to have financials and you've got to have references and all of that. But if you've got that, you can absolutely compete with the big guys. We've seen it a million times.
Or partner.
Yes.
Partner
yes.
too.
Or partner. Absolutely.
Speak to that just a bit. For our listeners and viewers, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so in the case, I'm going to pick on the DoD, the Department of Defense. Many times when they come out with a solicitation, they need an innovation. But guess what? In order for you to be able to transition that innovation, meaning commercialize that innovation, it has to be integrated into maybe Lockheed Martin's F-35. And how are you going to be able to do that? Partnering up with Lockheed Martin or possibly with their tier suppliers, depends on where your innovation fits. So you need to know where your innovation goes, how to integrate it, and to know that you need to get the requirements. And to get the requirements, you have to team with them. And so that's what I mean, partner. And so, you might not be the big Lockheed Martin, but you will be transitioning your technology.
Would it also be safe to say you might not be the whole solution? However, you're a critical part of it, and finding a partner to run with and to introduce yourselves that way would be a strategy.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to say it. And then you kind of, in my world, if you want to get into state government contracting and you don't have any of that experience, partnering with somebody, with a bigger firm that does, you've got to have a unique solution, something that they need. But that's a great way to get that experience for future.
Awesome. I want to give a shout out to Arizona Technology Council right now around this topic. Again, this is our 50th episode, so I have had an opportunity every single month for 50 months to listen in on these conversations. And when someone like Paisley is here, or Steve or Leslie, or some of the folks who have been fortunate enough to represent the council, it's these very topics, these partnerships, these alignments, these opportunities to connect in a really deep and long-lasting way that if you're not already a member of the council, this is one of many reasons why you should be, because you will find a team of advocates, both at the state and national level when it comes to lobbying, bringing big business into Arizona, and for our smaller business owners, however you're going to define that, right? Or our researchers, our inventors, whoever it is. Then when you're part of the council and you get to know this team, they're going to be helping you know who to connect with so that your business grows and expands.
Agreed.
Excellent. And along that note, I want to thank the Arizona Commerce Authority as well, who is also here to advocate for our success. And they are the 2024 premier sponsor for the AZ TechCast podcast. Arizona Commerce Authority is the state's leading economic development organization with a streamlined mission to grow and strengthen Arizona's economy. Let's hear from them.
Our streamlined, pro-business approach helps you achieve more by putting less between you and future success. Less red tape, lower taxes, less distance separating you from the tech leaders of tomorrow. This innovative ecosystem will supply your business with tools and resources to compete in the 21st century and beyond. But your future is more than just business success. In Arizona, the lifestyle you want is at your fingertips. Explore cities known for their Southwest heritage and modern vision. Enjoy beautiful scenery and endless outdoor activities on land, water, or snow. And if you're looking for a little friendly competition, we've got plenty of teams to choose from. With constant sunshine, vibrant culture, and natural wonder, Arizona provides a style of living that's entirely unique. People from all over the world call our state home. From student leaders who fill the classrooms of our top-ranked universities to a skilled and abundant workforce that's ready for what's next. To the neighbors, friends, and peers we interact with daily, Arizonans are united by a pioneering spirit that moves us forward. So as you look to the future, know that it's filled with the perfect balance of innovation and high-quality living that makes life better here.
I watched Jenny. She was thinking, I need to call my real estate agent. I'm getting ready to move to Arizona and be there full time. We welcome you with open arms. Isn't that a fantastic commercial that represents Arizona Public Authority?
It's beautiful.
I haven't seen it 50 times, but close to 50 times. And I literally get jazzed about our state every single time.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, let me take that off the screen. I'm doing multiple things here, so my apologies for having that sit there too long. All right, Paisley, hit us with the next question.
Awesome. Okay, so I know you guys have talked about tons of different companies are applying for these things, and I'm sure, again, there's a million recommendations you could give, but what are some things that you think these businesses can do to really stand out when applying for these contracts or these programs?
Yeah.
Well, I'll jump in
Go.
around, again, state government contracting, government as a purchaser. When you're responding to these RFPs, we have something called the DARE method. DARE is an acronym. The D stands for distinction. How can you stand out from your competition? That means you've got to know your competition. You've got to do competitor profiles. You've got to understand them so that you can know what your value is over and above those competitors. The A is for authority. How can you show your authority in your industry? They're hiring you because they don't have the resources or the expertise in-house. So they need you. And the more authority you have, the better it is. The better you'll stand out. The R is the requirements. Make sure that you don't miss those requirements. And then the E stands for evidence. Prove it. Show versus tell. Do not stand on the mountaintop shouting how great you are. Show me proof that you are that great, that somebody else is saying that you're that great. Mm-hmm. And those will help you stand out a lot more in those proposals.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
Well, to go along the DARE,
I love it.
I love acronyms.
Me too.
That one stuck to me now. So you got to do your homework. You've got to understand that customer. You've got to read the solicitation. Read it from top to bottom.
Read it.
Read it. Read it.
And read it again.
Did we say read it? And start early. Don't expect. I mean, I turn down helping people because they come to me 2 weeks before something's due, and they expect me to help them win or to help them write a proposal. It's like, heck no. And then they wash their hands. They don't take responsibility in reading the solicitation, right? They figure that we're responsible, but ultimately they are, right? And so I think, and it goes well with what you said, and it will help you craft that story correctly. I really like your acronym.
Thank you. It's for DARE to stand out. If I didn't say that, I think I just said DARE, but DARE to stand out.
DARE to stand out. I love it. Thank you.
And before Jenny goes, I'm just going to piggyback there. We also get those people. We actually got somebody the other day. It's like, this is due in 4 days. You can't write it. We can't write it. There is no way. And they'll be like, we'll pay you more money. Ooh, enticing, but no, absolutely not. Please read it. Also, please make sure that your legal team, whoever that is paying attention to the terms and conditions, because you don't want that to bite you in the butt. So, sorry, Jenny.
Oh, that's okay. Well, going along with what Sonia was saying about solicitations are complex. Yes. They are filled with all the things that you need to do. So it is so important that you really do read the solicitation very carefully. The other thing is to submit an application to most agencies. You have to have registered with many organizations such as SAM, the Systems for Award Management, and it takes time to do that. So you can't do things quickly. You've got to line that up. But in terms of what makes someone stand out, because these are R&D projects, what we see is the biggest problem that companies have is they don't understand what a technical objective is, and they don't work on their work plan. They have to demonstrate how they're going to test their hypothesis. Who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? Where are they going to do it? They have to provide all that level of detail. That's the stumbling block for so many people.
Yeah. Great.
Awesome. And you got to think too, the ones that want to rush it, are they really in it, right? So I'm sure you guys get that more than
They make mistakes.
They make mistakes, but I feel like those are the ones that are like they want to take a pill and wake up 20 pounds lighter, right? Like you can't just respond to something like that came across your desk a week ago. It's due in 10 days. I'm going to respond and I'm going to get the $7 million contract. It doesn't work that way. All of that upfront information and all of that research gathering and market intelligence is so important. If you want to have, in the RFP space, in my world, 20% is the industry average win rate. 20%, like who is okay putting all of that time and resource and money, energy into winning 20%? Yuck. Right? So if you want to get into the 70 and 80% win rates, you've got to be doing everything that all three of us are talking about. You have to do that. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to put the energy into that, if you don't want to do the hard work and the non-sexy stuff, get out, go do something else.
Well, going along with what you just said, Lisa, it's really important when someone starts down this path to figure out where they're going to get the time.
Yes.
How are they going to squeeze that out? Is it early in the morning? Is it the weekend? And then their support network. Let's assume that someone's married with children. You got to talk with your family and in your social network to make sure that you can get all this stuff done. Maybe there's a wedding coming up, or maybe there's some other thing coming up. You've got to plan your time.
Agreed.
Yes. Yeah. Planning.
Yep.
Along with that line of responses and guidance, do businesses give up too soon? I want to go back to something that Lisa had said earlier around, the longevity. And I think, Sonia, you mentioned it too. Once you're in and you're in relationship and you are the vendor and the provider, as long as it's yours to lose, I think is what you said, Lisa. Right? So, what am I trying to say?
Well, I think, do people give up too soon because it's too hard on the front end and they don't get that reward on the back end? Is that where you're going with that?
It is, because I know just in life, especially when we're kind of the I need it right now kind of
instant gratification.
And this could be a long game. Yeah. So do folks give up too soon? And to what Jenny just said a second ago, really like carve out the time, make the time, because it's so worth it beneficially for you when you have these longer term contracts that really takes care of, you don't have to go look for that next client over and over and over again.
Yeah, 100%. And, we always tell people in state government is that most of the time, let me caveat with that, they pay on time, right? Most of the time, with the exception of something like COVID, they're recession proof-ish, right? So there's so many beautiful, wonderful things about contracting with the state government and to what Jenny and Sonia do and getting these funds and working with the federal government. There's just a lot of benefits to that. But it's with anything with our businesses. I mean, any kind of business development that you're going to do, you still got to do your homework. You've got to do marketing or whatever. It just replaces some of that. Mm-hmm. But stay in it if this is really an avenue that you want to go down in your business. Yeah.
Well, related to that, I think it's hard to be a small business.
It is.
You don't have a regular paycheck unless you go after something that is going to give you the semblance of that, Yep. So one thing we didn't talk about are the size of the SBIRS TTR awards. On average, and they do vary a lot, phase 1 is 6 to 9 months, $250,000 for concept development. Nice. Phase 2 is 1 to 1.25 million for 2 years of prototype development. And then you can get more awards afterwards. So it is worth the investment of time to do it right. And the win rate's about the same, 15 to 20%. So most of the time you're going to lose, okay? But you can learn from the reviewers, and people get very upset with the reviewers' comments. Oh, they didn't understand me. They didn't understand this. But if they learn from them, they can turn that around and they could submit something to someone else that's better than it was the first time.
Jenny, we have that too. People will say, they scored us wrong on the qualifications. And it's like, no, you wrote to your qualifications
Yes.
incorrectly. Like,
Right.
let's be clear here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So typically what I like to advise is don't only rely on that particular proposal. So, finding other ways and diversify where you're getting your funding from.
Mhm.
And so if, like, I like the medical example where let's define what you could submit for NSF, but at the same time, let's start thinking to submit for NIH, because each of them can take up to 6 months. And then you might get no, I didn't get the NSF, but maybe, yes, I did get the NIH. Or maybe you get both, and then you negotiate what the scope of work is going to be on both of them. But you might not win either one, but you will have very valuable information. So before I even coach anyone, if they have not won before and have unsuccessful submissions, I request to look at those reviews, because what I want to identify is the strengths and the weaknesses. Let's make
Yes.
sure we don't carry those weaknesses into future proposals, and let's leverage your strengths. And so we really use that information and keep going. In many cases, you could resubmit and not to give up, and then find, there's so many ways to find money done non-dilutive. You could do pitch competitions, you could do friends and family, you could do loans. You have to be able to layer and stagger and diversify where your money's coming from, because it is competitive. The fact that you win a phase one for $250,000 for 6 months to a year does not guarantee you're going to win that second phase for over $1 million. Right?
Yeah.
And even if you are going to win it, there might be gaps. So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to keep the company going and pay your employees and keep the momentum? So you have to always keep on looking for where is more money going to be coming from, and how do you continue funding? So which is, some of the challenges.
Mhm.
And so diversification of where you're getting your money and to submit to more than one is something that really is something I really recommend.
I also love that you said, like, take a look at those scoring, like we call them
Yes.
scoring sheets in the state government space. And we tell people, even if you won, get those scoring
Yes.
sheets, because you might have won because you were the best of the worst. It doesn't mean it's a winning proposal. And then what people do is they take that and they're like, oh, this is our, our premier proposal. Let's just copy and paste. And it doesn't work that way. So get it even if you won.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. And then we're getting towards the end here. So I want to make sure we can just kind of explain what happens once they win these fundings or contracts. And, they got there. So what's next?
We won.
Now
Now
what?
what?
Well, from my perspective, from our world, you got to deliver. You got to over deliver. Like, you really have to do a good job. You can't just dial it in, because then once you, like, they'll replace you if they can, or at very least you won't win the second round of the contract. So do your best, high quality service, go over and above, be a good trusted partner with your agency, and you'll be able to win it. It's yours to lose.
Time cards.
Yes.
You're going to have to keep track of your time.
Oh, funny.
Accounting. You're going to have to report on the financing. So you have to have more structure. So if you're a brand new company or a startup, you don't have those things. And so, but those are required. So those are early things you'd have to do: time cards, accounting, and reports to your contract manager.
Yeah. And to that point, nowadays, Jenny, and possibly in the state level too, is you're going to need now this cybersecurity plans and cybersecurity assessments. It's a requirement.
Yeah.
You got to do it. And, again, where's the money going to come from? How are you going to carve out on your overhead bid that you can do that? Right?
And insurance. We are seeing cyber
Insurance.
insurance. We just paid for my business $2,000 a year. Those hits add up for
Yeah.
small businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, getting the, as best you can, good lawyers, good accountants, put together the procedures so that you can have continuous improvement.
Yes.
That's a great way to wrap that portion up. Continuous improvement. This whole conversation has been around continuous improvement and relying on the team of professionals that are going to help you improve and get to where you want to go. Paisley, what other questions do we have for our panelists?
Well, I had a question to follow up and then I lost it. So
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I guess with that, I do remember now. So is there information out there that they can know this prior to winning? Is it something that, just, I know there's a lot of preparation just to get their information together for these proposals, for these contracts, but how much education and how much can they learn about everything prior to that? Because it sounds like that really should be established or planned out, or at least thought about prior to applying at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally in the RFP, in the terms and conditions, which in a state RFP, your terms and conditions will become your contract, and it will be laid out in there. And I even tell people that are saying, we want to break into the state of Arizona. All right, go out and get a copy of an old RFP within the last 12 months. And or call them and ask them, can we see a copy of your terms and conditions, and get a lawyer looking at that up front. You read through it 3 times, not just read it once, read it 3 times, because you're going to miss stuff, and really make sure that you can meet all of those types of requirements. But that should be listed out in the TNCs for sure.
It's good to know. So you got to know a lot before you make some decisions. So that's definitely helpful to know. And then I guess we're getting towards the end here. So any last minute tips, tricks you can think that we haven't gone over that you think would be really helpful for small businesses?
I say ask for help. Again, it takes a village to get places, and there's so many resources. Ask for help. We're here to help. We love to help.
We love to help.
We love to help. And so just, and I mean, I'm someone that if I can't help you, I'm just going to tell you I can't help you. But guess what? I might know someone who can. And so that's why we network. That's why we're engaged. Leverage us. We go to events. We meet those potential partners. We've been there. We've done that. We know what it takes to get places. And so leverage us, ask for help, do your homework, know your customer.
Don't be afraid to try.
Oh,
yes.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
being in business is all about trying and figuring it out, staying curious and bumping up against those obstacles and those hurdles and smashing through them when we can.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Paisley, that you think we might want to get? And then I'll leave it open if yes or no from Paisley. And then I would just love each of you to kind of offer up one last little nugget that you want our folks
I
to.
think we covered the majority of the questions here, and I'm sure we could talk another hour. But.
Oh, for sure. It always feels that way. So let's do this.
Fine.
Let's just do it kind of a quick round. Doesn't have to be fast and furious, but either a recap or a summary, something that you heard from one of the other panelists that really want to highlight, or something that you want to make sure our listeners and viewers are left with before we close.
Sure, I'll go. I would say something that hasn't really been said yet is that you've got to have a strategy. Like, what is your overall business development strategy for your business, and how do these programs or government contracting fit into that? And work from there, because from our perspective, we want you to have a winning mindset. We want you to have a 70 to 80% win rate on RFPs for state government contracting, but you can't do that if you don't have a strategy. And hope is not a strategy. There's a famous quote out there by an author that I can't remember. Hope is not a strategy, and bidding on everything is not a strategy.
I like that.
That's interesting, Lisa. They'd be too tired if they bid on everything.
Oh, but they try. It's hilarious.
That's
It
true.
becomes cookie cutter, right? And then they wonder why
Yes.
they're not. Yeah. Jenny, how about you?
Don't be afraid to reach out to the federal government. I think some people are afraid. Like there's the opportunity to ask questions of the topic authors, and the questions relate to the topic. It's not the opportunity to tell them about yourself or try and pitch yourself, but to ask them questions so you can respond appropriately. But I think a lot of people are afraid to reach out to the federal government because it's the federal government. There's no need to be afraid.
Love that.
They want to help too. I'd say stay focused. don't be all over the place, especially, for your company based
Yeah.
on your strategy. At least to start, focus, and don't try to do everything for everyone. Focus on your proposal, focus on your strategy, and even for investors, they want to make sure that you're going to stay focused and deliver on what you're doing. The same thing here. One of the number one reasons companies fail or startups fail is because they're not focused.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at least to start out, let's focus, let's get that money, ask for help, leverage your network, stay engaged, and don't give up too soon.
Mm-hmm. Great. So it isn't often that we have a LinkedIn somebody who's viewing the show leave comments. They're always open and welcome to. And I want to thank, it's an anonymous listener viewer. But I love this because, again, this is the 50th episode, and we're very proud and excited about that. And this listener and viewer says, great conversation, very informative. Kudos to this powerhouse group of knowledgeable women.
Yeah.
So, a wonderful celebration. Again, thank you, each of you, for bringing your A game today, your wisdom, expertise, and your just beautiful advice and guidance. Really, that's really what you're here to do. So in our show notes, once this has been published, we'll have how folks can stay in contact with you and can reach out to your organizations or you specifically. And Paisley, just really a great, a great conversation today.
Yes.
You're the one who pulled this together for us and did so beautifully in your first time role with that. Yeah.
Great
So
job.
let's go. Let's do the next 50 together, right? I mean, I'm not
Perfect.
cutting Steve out. He can come host with me, but I'd love to see you continue this great work. Again, you've been listening to AZ TechCast, brought to you by Phoenix. Hello, I know who I am, Phoenix Business Radio X. And today's AZ TechCast has been brought to you by the Arizona Commerce Authority, the state's leading economic development organization with a streamlined mission to grow and strengthen Arizona's economy. If you're interested in being a podcast participant or sponsor for the Council's AZ TechCast, then please contact Paisley, which is, you can find her at marketing@aztechcouncil.org to learn more about the opportunities to further position you as a tech expert, an influencer, and an innovator. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thank you for joining AZ TechCast, and give me a moment because I got to switch over here and do our outro. Have a great rest of your day. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of AZ TechCast with Arizona Technology Council, featuring leading tech and business experts that help influence and shape our great state and the industries they serve.